So the main character is a Saiyan, and now more Saiyans are coming. Well, Tarble will be happy. Hey folks, MasakoX here. One of our stories that has lasted the test of time and has now become the longest one going, no joke, concerns the former partner of Vegeta, Nappa. He had been a very welcome constant for the prince back in the day when both worked for Frieza. So, when the smaller one had discarded his bigger one so carelessly, things would understandably take a major turn. With Goku taking the former attendant under his wing, Nappa excelled and had a very good life with the people of Earth, and Goku as a mentor, and Goten like a de facto nephew, while still remaining true to his sense of self, loving plants. Over time, age came into the picture, which was quite fascinating to cover since we've not really had a Saiyan reach the dreaded age of 80, where supposedly deterioration rapidly increases. But as we know, fusion came along with his future self to stave off that effect for at least a little while longer, all from him turning good, and I'd consider that an absolute win. In the last part, we had the aftermath of the Tournament of Power, thank goodness, and the entire gang were decompressing from all of that. But that didn't last for too long. We now had the arrival of a new, younger Saiyan from another world, who had a connection to Vegeta. No, it wasn't Kaba. It was Kaba's precursor, the 1.0 edition, Tarble. Yes, we brought back Tarble. Well, actually, it's us using Tarble, unlike the main story who sort of gave up. When he arrived, Tarble had brought Gure, his wife, and had intended to ask for help from his brother with the colony he had set up in deep space. This consisted of mostly weaker Saiyans and other trims of other peoples who banded together for solidarity and constance. In the end, it was Goku and Nappa who led the charge and promised to head for Tarble's colony once the messenger had returned, thanks to instant transmission, keep, and all that stuff. However, when our gang got there, things weren't all that simple. Tarble was basically the strongest Saiyan there. The young one had talked them up a little bit too much. How's the prince going to take all of this? In the time they had been there, Nappa had been pleasantly surprised by Vegeta's behaviour actually. He had assumed that upon arrival, the prince would have torn into the situation here, branding his brother as a complete joke to the Saiyan race. But no, it turned out that he wasn't just shouting at the new recruits, and instead was helping, starting with the basics, like a proper teacher. What was also weird was seeing that there had been other survivors that had managed to last this long outside of Frieza's influence without capture or incarceration. Most of them were members of the non-warrior classes and professions, but right now, to Vegeta, that didn't matter. They were his people. He found a certain relief in that, less pressure, though he also found some remnants of his older thoughts. Thoughts of a person who would have originally, upon seeing all of these people, treated them as barely Saiyans, really ignoring them, even though their roles were pretty important for their society. In the day, warriors treated anyone outside of their circle as oddities. How wrong were they? It's funny how people change with age, Nappa thought, and how much more you actually start to realise that when you are the one who is aging. Maybe that was the true prize of being a Saiyan, lasting as long as he had done. It was quite the rarity. Saiyan wisdom? Maybe that's why the Saiyans were so afraid of their dotage. They were afraid that the wisdom they would naturally acquire would show them that what they really were, and not very smart, their actions, as well as the coming to terms with their strength slowly deserting them. Nappa knew that one day that would happen to him. He would lose the ability to turn Super Saiyan. Everything that he had done before then, gone. Age would take that away from him. But that didn't scare him as much as it would have done just even a few years ago. Nappa hadn't been particularly smart in the past either. But times change. People change, if you give them enough time. Lost in your thoughts, my friend. May I join you? Kami approached Nappa, as he watched the exercise drill that Vegeta, with the help of Goku, was performing for the colonists. Yeah, of course. You know I happen to do that a lot lately. Kami smiled in understanding. Comes with age. I understand. Oh yeah, I totally forgot that you were, well, good thing there were Dragon Balls, huh? Kami laughed softly. You know, sometimes I think what I did back then was my vanity getting in the way, wanting to rekindle my prime once more. But in the end, I wasn't that much of a help. Nappa nodded slowly. Don't worry, I consider that too. Any Saiyan would. A chance to be on the battlefield that little bit longer? Gold dust. Oh? What changed your mind then? Nappa looked at Tarble, repeating his brother's movements, and then at Gohan and Goten, who were helping the hybrid colonists to take a grasp over the more basic concepts of ki control. I think I'm a little bit too simple for that. We Saiyans don't usually have to live for that long. I'm slowly pushing the border of what's even possible. Don't you enjoy living then? Nappa turned to Kami with a look of passion. No, I do. Life is good for me. But the thing is, I think I don't mind being old, you know? It shows the path that myself, well, both of us, had walked. We've done something that no other Saiyan has been able to do, or probably ever do. Kami nodded. I sometimes think about wishing myself back to my old self, finding a replacement for the role of guardian. Similar reasons, in fact. Also, I haven't realized that my kind had spread out so much. The ones living here do not even remember Namek ever existing. Lost to time, it seems. But they did used to have their own set of Dragon Balls at some point. So at least some portion of our heritage lived on for a little longer. Nappa raised an eyebrow. Well, that's a surprise. It could be potential bait for troublemakers, though. Precisely. That's why their previous elder decided not to pass on the knowledge to their successor. But I was thinking, maybe I could find a potential student here, rather than on Namek. What do you think, friend? Nappa pondered this. You mean someone new? Kami nodded without response. Well, to be fair, you have been doing this gig for what, like 3 centuries? I think if anyone deserves to have a little quiet break, it's you, Kami. Kami smiled, looking at the Namekian recruits. Indeed, but for now it's just an idea. I'm not sure whether it'll ever play out entirely the way I want, but still. I wonder how Piccolo is doing on Namek, though. Been a while, hasn't it? The two then watched in silence how the training session was going. It took them actual days of the same training regimen to get something more complicated out of than simple ki blasts, the recruits. Back in the day, blasting ki in a week would have been remarkable, but to the Dragon team right now, this length of time was utterly insufferable. To them, it felt like forever. They were used to instant results. This was definitely a reality check. Luckily for the mentors, the colonists could already control their energy for flying, since that was basic Saiyan training, so that worked out in their favour. And after watching all of this unfold for another half of a day, Nappa decided to chime in, helping Vegeta with some of his coaching tricks. Initially, the prince had a fleeting thought which troubled him. Flashes of his former companion mocking him rang through his head, but these went away as soon as Nappa had shown his proper engagement. Vegeta had nothing to fear. After the day was over, the two sat to have a meal with Tarble. So, what do you think? Do we have a chance to fend for ourselves? Vegeta shook his head. It's not as simple as that. The single regimen won't turn them into elite warriors. They might have the basics down, but I presume they haven't fought for their lives for years, which has made them rusty. You're all extremely lucky to have lasted this long, you know that. Tarble looked at his feet. Yeah, I know. Don't worry, Tarble. We'll get you in fighting shape. Not if the pirates get there first. We can just blast them, you know, Nappa said with a casual tone. Vegeta raised his head. And then what? What do we do after that? Nappa thought for a moment. This is where Vegeta was good. The plan after the battle. They will become over-reliant on us when the next threat naturally occurs. We cannot be their babysitters, Nappa. Frieza and Cold are out there, and they will likely try to use you as leverage against us, since you're related to me especially. But fear not, we will make your people ready. But it would be simple. And do not expect immediate gains right away. After that, you're on your own. Thank you for doing any of this, brother. You really have changed. Nappa smirked, but Vegeta went quiet for a moment. Took him some time, but he did eventually. Nappa patted Vegeta on the shoulder. Well, let's get some rest. Tomorrow we're gonna have another long day in the line of work. And indeed, the next day came with yet more training. Then another. Then another. At this point, they were visiting them really often, using Goku's instant transmission. One day, Nappa even brought Cafe along to show her the colony. She had some fun whilst there, painting the alien landscapes. It was definitely something different, which greatly interested some of the younger half-Saiyans who had been rarely ever exposed to the arts. Cafe was taking great joy in this fact, teaching them the basics, sharing her own sets of talents. But one day, a grim threat indeed appeared over the colony. A pirate fleet, sure enough, came to take tribute from the colonists. Vegeta! We need your help! We need... Tarble was stumbling upon his own words, but the brother was not moved.
No! We will not interfere! It's time for you to show what you have learned!
Tarble swallowed loudly, but he wanted to look brave for the rest of the colony, and most notably, for Gure, who looked worried. After the leader of the pirates, Captain Yanao, walked from the ramp of a ship, Tarble had already put his brave face on. So, little monkey, I'm here for my tribute. Let's make this quick. Tarble stood firm. We have no reason to give you any tribute now. We no longer need your protection. Please, leave us alone. Yanao didn't look mad nor shocked, but intrigued. Oh, did somebody develop a spine lately? This does please me. The pirate captain was genuinely impressed. She'd hated coming to this colony. It was so meek and feeble, considering they're Saiyan, hardly reminiscent of the glory days of them. But now, this one was starting to rekindle that old flame. But despite this pride in him, Yanao still had a job to do, and that was to get her money. Nothing would get in the way of that. Umar? Ua? Looks like you're up. Get the tribute. She ordered two of her biggest goons to attack Tarble. Sorry, kid, but you just can't say no to our services like that. Not without consequence. But to her big surprise, Tarble managed to dodge their strikes. Easily. Encouraged by this initial display, the crowd of colonists started to push back against the intruders, leaving Yanao herself less intrigued and now very concerned. But she wasn't going to leave without a fight, as she herself engaged in a brutal exchange with Tarble. Goku, who had been observing from the sidelines, was itching to get in the fight, and Nappa felt the same, but Vegeta was adamant. On the bright side, Goku smiled, they seem to be doing okay. And indeed, although the fight was rather even, it seemed that the colonists had shown results. They gave the pirates a little beating that they were not expecting. Then the pirates retreated to their ship. Was that it? What's going on? Were they running away? Not quite. On the speaker, Yanao shrieked, "That's it! We're going to bombard your sorry planet!" Which caused the colonists to panic. Sure, they could punch the pirates, but how could they fight against an entire pirate fleet from space? And when she started the countdown, a singular ki blast came from the planet out of nowhere, destroying the ship. Later, before the colonists could understand what had actually happened, what the hiffle was going on, more attacks like that destroyed the other ships. A few of them did, though, manage to get away out of terror. At first, the colonists were cheering, but they very quickly realized that they had been outmatched. They had been lucky. If those attacks were from another enemy getting in the way, they would have been screwed. Luckily, it wasn't from an enemy. Of course, the sources of those attacks were from Vegeta, Goku, Nappa, Kami, and the others. Tarble looked dejected. We failed, but it looked so promising.
Forget it. Until those cowards resorted to dirty tricks, you held yourself well, Vegeta chimed in.
But without your help.
I said we wouldn't help you from the off, but you undertook the first important step, Tarble. You people stood up for yourselves. There is, still, a long and rocky road ahead of you, but you have proven that you can walk upon it.
You think? Thanks, Vegeta, but it will still take us a long time, and you people have your obligations. We don't want to... Vegeta looked away.
About that. Nappa, Kakarot, a word with you two. Only you two.
Goku and Nappa nodded and walked away with him. There was a celebration later on. They even saw Kami with the current elder Namekian, part of the colony, presenting his two young sons to the Guardian.
I am really bad at this, but can you two thank Bulma, Yamcha, and Bulla for everything?
Oh, are you sure? You're this close to getting into Whis' training with us. Maybe even locking God Key. Goku was surprised, but only a little bit.
That can wait. I know what I must do and where I must stay. For now. So do tell Bulma that this is my resignation from the role of security chief.
Nappa put his massive hand on the prince's shoulder.
I'm proud of you, Vegeta. Funny. You finally get to be a prince. I don't feel like one. I'm only doing my duty for my people.
Nappa tilted his head.
Which I think a prince does, you know.
This time even Vegeta smiled.
Take care of yourself, old man. You too, Kakarot.
And as a farewell, they each fist bumped the prince. When they left later, they discovered that Kami had been busy. He had brought with him 2 apprentices from the planet to potentially replace him as the Guardian of Earth. As the current elder wasn't even fully versed with the ways of the old, he gladly accepted Kami's proposal to give his boys a proper Dragon Clan education. The boys were twins, named Acha and Otala, and as such, Nappa and his friends returned to Earth, bearing the news of Vegeta's decision. You know, I'm glad that we gave him a chance, Goku smiled.
Yeah, you're right, Kakarot.
On the same day, Goku returned for a brief moment to the colony to return Vegeta's things from his office, including the medal that Bulla had given him. It was displayed in his new home, in a rather visible place. Everything seemed good, and Vegeta, Goku and Nappa pondered if there were any more Saiyan survivors out there, on other planets. Well, they were about to find out, as 2 scouts of the Frieza Force had accidentally come across some very high power levels on a very remote planetoid called Vampa. How will it change the fate of the universe? Well, this is where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Do you think that more Saiyans will help make Nappa's aging go by more smoothly, with him not having to do as much on the front line? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!